My wife said our neighbor was like a brother to her. Now I found a second phone hidden in her nightstand. I'm a 38-year-old man, and until 2 months ago, I thought I had a pretty decent life. A stable job. A wife I adored. A quiet house in a safe neighborhood where we knew everyone by name. The kind of life people envy in their 30s, routine, predictable, peaceful. Her name is Camille. We've been married for 9 years. Together for 12. No kids, but not by choice, we've been trying on and off for years. It's been hard, especially for her, but we've stuck together. Or at least, I thought we had. Camille works in a small real estate agency a few blocks from home. Nothing flashy. She likes order. She likes quiet. She keeps our house spotless, takes care of the garden, and every Sunday morning, without fail, she bakes bread. It's our ritual. I drink my coffee, she kneads dough, we talk about everything and nothing. Then there's Yanis, our neighbor. He moved into the house next door a little over a year ago. Single guy, early 40s, ex-military, now works as a security consultant. Tall, polite, quiet, and absurdly helpful. The kind of man who always has jumper cables in his trunk and remembers to bring in your trash bins before you even notice they're out. Camille instantly got along with him. Too well, maybe. At first, I thought it was sweet. She said he reminded her of her older brother, who passed away years ago. She said he made her feel safe. That he was just one of the good ones. She started inviting him over for coffee. Then dinners. Then movie nights. Nothing weird, always casual, always innocent. And always with me there. So I never really questioned it. Until small things started to feel off. Camille started locking her phone. Not unusual in itself, but we had always known each other's codes. One day I asked for it to look up a recipe and she hesitated. Said her screen was glitchy. Changed the subject. Then there were the whispered calls late at night. I'd hear her in the kitchen or on the patio, talking in low tones. When I asked, she said it was her sister. Or her mom. But never on speaker. Never where I could hear both sides. A month ago, I came home from work early, surprise half-day, and found Yanis in our backyard with Camille. They were laughing about something, standing a little too close. She jumped when she saw me. Still, I said nothing. I told myself I was imagining things. That jealousy was a disease, and I wasn't going to be that guy. Then, one Sunday night, Camille fell asleep on the couch. Her phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. It was a message from Yanis, can't stop thinking about earlier. Your lips, F***CK. My stomach twisted. I didn't touch her phone. I just sat there. Staring at the message. Staring at her. Everything slowed down. The bread dough from that morning still sat on the counter, half risen and forgotten. The Netflix menu played idly in the background. Her head was resting gently on a throw pillow, mouth slightly open. Peaceful. Innocent. Lying through her teeth. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I needed more. Something undeniable. Something she couldn't spin or deny. So I started watching. I took a day off from work without telling her. Pretended I had a conference out of town. Left early in the morning, suitcase packed, car parked 3 blocks away. Walked back home an hour later, through the alley. At 10:22 a.m., I saw her leave the house. Dressed up. Makeup perfect. Hair curled. She wasn't going to work. She walked next door. She stayed there for 4 hours. When she came back out, she was smiling. She called me around 4 p.m., asking how the conference was going. Told me she missed me. Asked what I was eating for dinner. I played along. And that night, while she showered, I searched her nightstand. I didn't know what I was looking for. A love note? A receipt? Maybe just some hidden guilt. But what I found was worse. A second phone. Black. Older model. No case. Hidden in the back of the drawer beneath a stack of old notebooks. I didn't turn it on. Not yet. I just stared at it, my hand shaking, knowing that once I powered it up, I'd cross a line I couldn't uncross. When she came out of the bathroom, towel around her hair, I pretended I'd just come in to grab my charger. Smiled. Kissed her cheek. But inside, I was crumbling. That night, I waited until she fell asleep again. Then I turned on the phone. And what I saw was only the beginning. The phone took a while to power on. It buzzed briefly, no password. That almost made it worse. Like it wasn't meant for security, but secrecy. Like she never imagined anyone would find it. The background wallpaper was blank. No apps on the home screen except the essentials. No social media. No photos. Just messages, WhatsApp, and a barely used call log. The first message that popped up was from a contact saved as Y. No emoji. No last name. Just a single letter. Can't wait to feel your skin again. My fingers froze. I scrolled. Most of the messages were short, coded. Stuff like, tonight, door open. Same time? Still tasting you. Some of them had timestamps that made my heart pound, early mornings when I was already at work, or lunch hours when she said she was with clients. Some were from weekends I thought we'd spent together. But it wasn't just sex. There were messages like, I wish we could just disappear. He'll never understand you like I do. You're the only real thing in my life. I sat there in the dark, the blue light of the phone burning through my skull, reading through months of betrayal, confession, and longing, threaded through casual plans and meaningless conversations I thought I understood. They had a whole language I never knew existed. I clicked into the WhatsApp photos. There were nudes. Of her. Some tasteful. Some graphic. Some recent. I recognized the lingerie, it was a set I bought her last Valentine's Day. She said she wasn't in the mood that night. Now I knew why. But it wasn't the pictures that broke me. It was a voice note. Sent a week ago, her voice, breathy, low, and full of something I hadn't heard from her in years. When I'm with you, I forget I even have a husband. I dropped the phone. My entire chest felt like it was caving in. I couldn't breathe. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed next to her, eyes wide open, hearing that voice note on loop. At some point, Camille stirred, rolled over, and curled into me like she always did. I let her. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stared at the ceiling and felt myself drift into something cold and hollow. The next morning, I got up early, left the house before she did, and sat in my car around the block for 2 hours trying to decide what the hell to do. Part of me wanted to confront her. Part of me wanted to smash the phone in front of her and demand answers. But another part wanted to destroy them both. So I went to see Yanis. I knocked on his door like nothing was wrong. He opened it wearing a t-shirt and jeans, holding a mug of coffee. The smell of Camille's favorite perfume drifted faintly from inside his house. Hey, man, he said, like we were buddies. Everything all right? I smiled. Got a minute? He stepped back to let me in. His place was neat. Almost sterile. No photos. No mess. Like a hotel room someone was trying too hard to make look like a home. We sat in his kitchen. I looked him in the eye and said calmly, I found the phone. He didn't react at first. Just sipped his coffee, then blinked. What phone? The one Camille keeps in her nightstand. He leaned back slightly. A crack in his armor. Look, I continued. I'm not here to scream. Or fight. I just want you to tell me why. He stared at me. Then said, because you didn't see her. What? You lived with her. Slept beside her. But you didn't see her. Not the way I did. Something in me snapped. I stood up. Let me be clear, I said, voice low. This isn't a confession booth. I don't give a shit about your poetic justifications. You knew she was married. You knew I trusted you. He smirked. Yeah. And she still chose me. I didn't punch him. I wanted to. I still regret not doing it. Instead, I turned and left. But the anger didn't go away. It turned into something sharper. Colder. I started collecting everything: screenshots, timestamps, messages. I backed up the entire hidden phone onto a drive. I noted every day she lied, every time she smiled to my face while texting him behind my back. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to expose her. But before I could pull the trigger, something unexpected happened. Camille came home one evening, visibly shaken. Her eyes were red. She was trembling. She didn't speak to me. Just went upstairs and locked herself in the bathroom. 10 minutes later, I heard her sobbing. I knocked once. Camille? Nothing. Then a whisper through the door, did you go through my nightstand? I didn't answer. She opened the door slowly, eyes wide with panic. Did you turn it on? Still, I said nothing. She collapsed to the floor and whispered, I didn't mean for it to happen. And I just stood there. Silent. Burning. Camille sat on the cold bathroom tiles, knees pulled to her chest, hands covering her face like she wanted to disappear. I stood in the doorway, watching the woman I thought I knew crumble into someone I didn't recognize. I didn't mean for it to happen, she repeated, barely audible. I could have said 100 things in that moment. I could have screamed. Accused. Demanded explanations. But instead, I asked, how long? She didn't look up. Just whispered, almost a year. A year. 12 months. 365 days of lies and performances and slipping into another man's bed. I stayed silent. I wanted her to keep talking. To drown in her own truth. I didn't go looking for it, she said. It just happened. After we lost the second pregnancy, I felt empty. You stopped talking to me, and he. Don't you dare blame this on me, I snapped. She flinched, and for a second, I hated myself for raising my voice. But only for a second. You shut down, she continued, voice shaking. You went to work, came home, ate dinner, and stared at your phone. You didn't touch me. You didn't see me. I felt like I was living with a ghost. And that justifies screwing the neighbor? No, she said, finally looking at me. Her eyes were bloodshot. It doesn't. Nothing does. I was weak. I was hurting. And he made me feel wanted again. I turned away before I said something I couldn't take back. She stood slowly, wrapping her arms around herself like she was trying to hold herself together. Please, she said. Don't leave me. That's when I left. A bitter, sharp sound that echoed against the tiles. You already left me, Camille. You just forgot to pack your bags. She didn't respond. Just stood there, broken. I walked downstairs and sat in the kitchen, staring at the drive with all the data I had backed up. The proof of her betrayal. The photos. The messages. The voice notes. I had everything I needed to destroy her. I thought about sending it all to her boss. To her mother. To our mutual friends. But something stopped me. Not pity. Not love. Just exhaustion. I was tired of pretending I was okay. So I called my best friend, Malik, who lived 2 cities over. You busy? I asked. Not for you. I need a place to crash. He didn't ask questions. When I left the house that night, Camille didn't try to stop me. She stood at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a blanket, eyes hollow. I'll do anything, she said quietly. Just tell me how to fix this. I stared at her. You can't fix a house that's already burned down. And I walked out. At Malik's place, things were quiet. He gave me the guest room, a stocked fridge, and space to breathe. I didn't tell him the whole story right away. Just bits and pieces. Enough for him to say, "Damn, man. I'm sorry." I spent my days sleeping, walking, replaying everything in my head. Every time she smiled at me while texting him. Every Sunday morning with fresh bread and a dirty secret baked into the crust. I thought time would dull the edge. It didn't. Then, one morning, Malik handed me a manila envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "A divorce lawyer. Best in the area. He's a client of mine. Said he'd take your case if you're ready." I stared at the envelope for a long time. Was I ready? I didn't know. But then I got a message that made my decision for me. It was from an unknown number. "I'm sorry. She told me you knew. I never wanted it to happen this way. Yanis." He had the audacity to message me, and the cowardice to hide behind a burner number. I didn't reply. But I called my lawyer. 2 days later, Camille was served with divorce papers. She called me 12 times. Left voicemails, texts, emails. Said she wanted to talk in person. Said she wanted to explain. But I didn't want explanations anymore. I wanted peace. That night, I poured a whiskey, sat on Malik's balcony, and watched the city lights blink below. Then I got another message. From a different number. Another burner. "There's something you don't know about Camille. Something she didn't tell you. Ask her about February 14th. Valentine's Day." I frowned. I played that night back in my mind. She said she had to work late. I had sent her flowers. She came home with a bottle of wine. We didn't do much. She said she was tired. I remember thinking how distant she seemed. I hadn't thought anything of it at the time. Now I couldn't stop thinking about it. I sent her one message. Just 4 words. "What happened that night?" She replied instantly. "Please. Don't make me say it like this. Then tell me the truth." 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Finally, my phone buzzed. I was pregnant. "It wasn't yours." I stared at the screen, breath caught in my throat. She had been pregnant. And it wasn't mine. I didn't even know if she kept it. If she lost it. If she ended it. All I knew was this: everything I had ever trusted had been a lie, and even now, she was still holding back the worst parts. I read the message over and over, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something less devastating. But they didn't. I was pregnant. It wasn't yours. There it was. No apology. No explanation. Just a raw, jagged wound delivered through pixels and silence. I sat there on Malik's balcony long after the sun went down, the whiskey untouched in my hand, phone dimming in my lap. My thoughts spiraled. Had she miscarried? Had she had an abortion? Had she even told him? Was I living in a marriage where another man's child had briefly existed, right under my roof? I didn't respond that night. I couldn't. My chest felt hollow and heavy at the same time, like I was caving in on myself. The next morning, I went straight to my lawyer. "I want full separation. No mediation. No reconciliation period." He nodded. "What about property? The house? Sell it." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure? She can keep her half." "I don't care. I just want out." We filed the formal papers that day. That evening, Camille sent me a long email. No subject. Just text. "I never planned to get pregnant. It was a mistake. I didn't even know until it was too late. I panicked. I didn't know who the father was. I didn't tell Yanis. I didn't tell anyone. I ended it after 5 weeks. It broke me, and I didn't think I could handle your disappointment on top of everything. I should have told you. but I was already drowning in guilt. I know none of this makes it better. But I needed you to know that it wasn't love. It was a moment of collapse. I've never stopped loving you. Even in the worst parts of me. I didn't reply. Because I didn't believe her. It was love, at least for a while. You don't build a second phone and a secret language and a parallel world with someone you don't care about. You don't lie to your husband for a year because of collapse. You do it because you made a choice. And she made that choice again and again. What I was starting to realize, though, was that this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about identity. Who was I, if I had loved someone so deeply, so blindly, without ever really knowing them? That question haunted me more than her infidelity. A week later, Malik and I were clearing boxes from my old storage unit when he turned to me and asked, "You want to know something messed up?" I nodded. I saw her once. At a bar. With him. Maybe 5 or 6 months ago. I didn't say anything because I thought, nah, that couldn't be her. Looked like her. But not how she is around you. She was different. Different how? He paused. Alive. Like she was turned on in a way I've never seen around you. I figured I was just seeing things. But now. He didn't need to finish. She had a whole other version of herself I never got to meet, and maybe that's what destroyed me most, not the cheating, not the pregnancy, not the lies, but the realization that she saved her most vibrant self for another man. That I'd been loving a shadow, while someone else got the fire. That night, Camille called me. Not text. Not email. Call. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. And then I answered. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe. Or cruelty. Her voice cracked as soon as she said my name. I miss you, she said. I miss our mornings. I miss your laugh. I miss how you looked at me like I was the only thing that mattered. I didn't respond. I'm not asking you to come back, she continued. I know I don't deserve that. But I need you to know something. What? I never felt safe with him. It wasn't love. It was an escape. A way to not feel like a failure. You made me feel like a wife. He made me feel like a woman. I didn't know how to be both at the same time. I closed my eyes. And then she whispered, I would have chosen you. Every time. If I hadn't broken myself first. I waited. Then said, I didn't lose you, Camille. You gave yourself away. And I hung up. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside was a printed ultrasound photo. Dated February 13th, 7 weeks. My heart stopped. There was a note attached. Just 2 words, handwritten. I'm sorry. I stared at it for what felt like hours. Then I folded it up, placed it in a drawer, and left it there. Some memories aren't meant to be destroyed. They're meant to be buried. The ultrasound stayed in my drawer like a ghost. Every time I opened it, for a charger, a notebook, even socks, it stared back at me. A frozen moment of something that could have changed everything, if it had been mine. If it had been ours. I didn't take it out. I didn't look at it. But I couldn't bring myself to throw it away either. It felt like erasing the last undeniable proof that Camille had created another life, with someone else, inside the life we'd built together. Meanwhile, the divorce was moving fast. Too fast, honestly. Camille didn't fight it. She didn't argue for the house, she didn't ask for alimony. She signed everything her lawyer put in front of her. It was like she had already disappeared from the life she'd ruined, and now she just wanted to be erased from the wreckage too. But she kept texting me. Not every day. But often enough. Little messages. Just saw the first roses bloom in the garden. You always said they reminded you of your mom. There's a letter from your dentist, want me to scan it? I'm not okay. I know you don't want to hear that. But I thought you should know. I ignored most of them, but sometimes I stared at them for hours, wondering if a small part of me still cared. Then one night, I got a different kind of message. From a woman I didn't know. Her name was Claire. She introduced herself simply, "You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about Camille." And Yanis. I froze. My first instinct was suspicion, scam, setup, stalker. But then she sent another message. "I'm Yanis's ex. I was with him when he moved into your neighborhood. I know what kind of person he is. And I think your wife wasn't the only one." My blood turned cold. We agreed to meet in a public cafe, neutral, broad daylight. Claire was in her late 30s, smart eyes, tight expression. The kind of woman who had learned to carry her damage with poise. She didn't waste time. "Yanis is a predator," she said. I blinked. "You mean, what? He targeted Camille?" She nodded. "It's what he does. He finds vulnerable women. Women with history. Grief. Insecurity. He makes them feel seen. Desired. Safe. And then he strips them down emotionally until they're addicted to him." I swallowed hard. "You think Camille was manipulated?" Claire leaned forward. "I know she was. Because I was too." She told me about their relationship, how it started when she had just lost her job, how Yanis swooped in like a savior, made her feel like she was the center of the universe. And then how he slowly took over her life, her finances, her decisions, her self-worth. "He isolates them," she said. "Not physically. Emotionally. He makes them feel like he's the only one who understands them. And once they believe that, he has total control." I shook my head. "But Camille's strong." "She's not, she wouldn't fall for that." Claire gave me a sad look. "She already did." I left the cafe feeling like the air had changed. Had I missed the signs? Had I been so focused on my own anger, I failed to see what she was really tangled in? And worse, was it possible she was more victim than villain? That night, I called Malik. Told him everything Claire had said. He was quiet for a long time before replying. "You know what's F** Ket up? That explains a lot." "What do you mean? Remember when I saw her at that bar with him? She didn't look happy. She looked wired. Like she was high on something that wasn't drugs." I thought back to Camille's voice when she begged me not to leave. When she sobbed on the bathroom floor. When she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." And suddenly, I wasn't sure what I believed anymore. I didn't contact her right away. I let a few days pass. But eventually, I sent a single text, "I need to ask you something." "Were you afraid of him?" She replied within seconds. "Yes." Then another. But I didn't realize it until it was too late. And another. "He isolated me. Used me. He said things that made me question everything. About you. About myself." I sat there, staring at the screen, heart pounding. Then she sent one more message. "He knew about our miscarriages. He used them. Said you blamed me. Said you only stayed with me because you felt guilty." I believed him. I let him inside every broken part of me. "I'm so sorry." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in silence, surrounded by the shattered pieces of something I thought I understood, and realizing I never did. The story I'd been telling myself for months was simple: my wife cheated, lied, and ruined our marriage. But the truth was starting to look much darker. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about Claire's words. Or Camille's texts. I kept replaying everything in my mind: her subtle withdrawal from me, the night she cried alone in the bathroom, the lost pregnancies, the second phone, even that haunted look in her eyes when I found out. It all looked different now. Less like betrayal. More like a slow, calculated collapse. One that someone had helped engineer. I called Claire again. I needed to know more. She didn't hesitate to meet me. This time, she brought receipts, literally. Printouts. Screenshots. Bank statements. Her own therapy records. Even a restraining order she once filed and then dropped because she felt bad for him. This is his pattern, she said. And Camille wasn't the first. She won't be the last. Yanis's method was always the same. He inserted himself into vulnerable relationships, usually ones already under strain. He befriended the couple, made himself indispensable, earned their trust, then shifted his attention to the woman. He'd feed her just enough validation to open her up, then weaponize her insecurities to isolate her from her partner. He made me think my ex was emotionally abusive, Claire said. He even showed me fake screenshots, texts he claimed my ex sent him, saying awful things about me. But they were fabricated. I found out months later, too late. I felt sick. Because I remembered Camille telling me something similar, that I shut down after the second miscarriage, that she felt invisible, unloved. I had blamed her for rewriting the past. But what if she didn't? What if someone else had rewritten it for her? What do you want from all this? I asked Claire. She didn't hesitate. To stop him. For good. That night, I didn't sleep. I paced Malik's living room for hours, debating if I should call Camille. If I owed her something more than silence. And then, around 3 a.m. my phone rang. Camille. I answered. Her voice was trembling. He came to my work. I froze. Yanis? Yes. He waited until I was leaving. Tried to act normal, like nothing happened. Said he wanted to talk. I told him to leave. He smiled and said, "We both know you don't really want that." Did he touch you? No. But he followed me to my car. I had to drive in circles before I went home, just to make sure he wasn't behind me. Did you call the police? I don't want to escalate it. I paused. Camille, you need to. I know. I'm so tired. Her voice broke. For the first time since this all started, I realized she wasn't just sorry. She was scared. I made a decision. I'm coming over. No, you don't have to. I'm coming over. When I got to the house, she opened the door like she'd been waiting the entire time. She looked thinner. Paler. Like the guilt and fear had drained her completely. We sat in the living room, the air between us heavy and fragile. I don't know who I am anymore, she said. I thought I was this loyal, dependable person. But the moment someone saw a different version of me, one I didn't even know existed, I ran to it like it could save me. I nodded slowly. He made you feel like you weren't broken. She looked at me, surprised. That's what Claire said, I added. Her face changed. You talked to her? She reached out. She wanted me to understand the whole story. Camille looked down. I didn't want to believe I was being manipulated. It felt easier to blame you. To convince myself our marriage had already ended. That I wasn't doing anything wrong. You were. I know. Silence. Then she whispered, "Do you hate me?" I thought about that for a long time. Then shook my head. No. I hate what happened. But I don't think I can hate you anymore. She cried then. Quietly. No drama. Just exhaustion. And I realized something else, she wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for freedom. From him. From herself. From the spiral she had fallen into. We filed a police report the next day. Claire agreed to do the same. She had evidence, screenshots of threatening messages, logs of unexplained bank charges, even recordings from a hidden microphone she'd planted near her front door during her final weeks with him. It wasn't a slam dunk, but it was enough to open a formal investigation. Yanis disappeared after that. Left his house. Deleted his social media. Changed his number. Vanished. Again. The divorce went through 2 weeks later. We signed the papers in silence at the lawyer's office. When it was done, Camille turned to me. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not destroying me." I nodded. "You did a good job of that yourself." She smiled faintly. "Fair." As I turned to leave, she added, "Do you think we'll ever speak again?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "If you ever need help, I'll answer. But this part of us? It's over." She nodded. "I know." And with that, I walked out of the building, and the marriage, for the last time. That night, I opened the drawer one last time. Took out the ultrasound. Looked at it. Then burned it in Malik's fireplace. Some memories don't need to be buried. They need to be obliterated. It's been 4 months since the divorce. I live in a small apartment now, nothing fancy, 1 bedroom, quiet neighbors, just enough space for me and the parts of my life I chose to carry with me. Malik still checks in, though less often now. The silence doesn't bother me anymore. Most of the time, I feel okay. I still work the same job. Still buy the same brand of coffee. Still take walks at night with headphones in and no destination. But something in me has changed, permanently. Trust isn't something I give out freely now. Not because I'm bitter, because I learned the hard way what people are capable of hiding, even from themselves. As for Camille, we haven't spoken since the day we signed. No texts. No calls. No, just checking in messages. She vanished from my life completely, the same way Yanis did. Sometimes I wonder if she did it out of respect, or because she's still ashamed. Maybe both. I saw her once, from a distance. It was a week ago, at the grocery store. She was standing near the produce aisle, holding a basket, eyes fixed on a bunch of apples like they held the meaning of life. Her hair was shorter. She looked thinner, worn down. She didn't see me. I stood there for a moment, watching her. And then I walked away. I didn't feel the need to approach her. Because there was nothing left to say. Claire and I still talk occasionally. Not in a flirty way, nothing romantic. Just 2 people who survived the same wreckage. We share updates on the investigation. Apparently, Yanis resurfaced in a different city, using a new name. Another woman has already filed a complaint. It never ends with people like him. Claire said something to me on our last call that stuck. We're not just survivors. We're witnesses, and sometimes that's just as heavy. She's right. Because moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying the weight with grace. Learning to live with the memory without letting it define you. I think I'm getting there. Last week, I started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee. Casual. Honest. I told her straight up that I wasn't looking to rush anything. She said, "Good. Neither am I." She asked what happened with my ex-wife. And I told her. Not every detail. Not the ultrasound. Not the second phone. But enough. She didn't flinch, just nodded slowly and said, "People do awful things when they're in pain." It was the first time I'd heard that sentence and didn't feel the urge to argue. Because deep down, I know it's true. Sometimes, when I lie awake at night, I still hear Camille's voice. Not in a haunting way. Just echoes. I didn't mean for it to happen. I let him inside every broken part of me. "You always looked at me like I was the only thing that mattered." She was right. I did. And for a long time, I blamed myself for that. For loving someone who didn't love me in the way I needed. But now, I've made peace with it. Loving someone, really loving someone, means accepting the risk that they might not be who they say they are. That they might fall apart in ways you can't stop. That they might take pieces of you with them when they go. But it also means you tried. And trying is never a weakness. Yesterday, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just a small envelope, handwritten. Inside, there was a Polaroid photo of the garden Camille and I built together years ago. The roses were blooming. And at the bottom, scribbled in blue pen, it said, "They came back this year, just like you said they would." I stared at it for a long time. Then slid it into a drawer. Not the one where I used to keep the ultrasound. That drawer is gone. This one's for things I choose to remember. I didn't write back. Not to the photo. Not to the message. Not to Camille. Because some things are better left as they are, unanswered, unresolved, untouched. I didn't need to reply to know what she meant. The roses were never just roses. They were a promise I once made, on a quiet morning with flower on her cheek and sunlight on our hands. "They'll bloom again," I'd said. Even after a harsh winter. She must have remembered that. She must have held on to it like it still mattered. But for me, the promise didn't survive the frost. And that's okay. I moved again last week. New apartment, new street. Smaller kitchen, but better light. I bought a few plants. Started reading again. Cooking. Breathing. Living. That's the word I keep coming back to. Not surviving. Not healing. Not moving on. Just living. Every now and then, something hits me, a song we used to dance to in the living room, a scent in the wind, the sound of her laugh in a stranger's voice, and it stops me in my tracks. Not because it hurts. But because I remember. And remembering doesn't destroy me anymore. Malik came by last night with beers and some cheap takeout. We watched a terrible movie and laughed too hard, and when he was heading out, he asked, "You ever think about going back?" Not to her, just to something like it? I paused. Then nodded. I think about it. But next time, it has to be different. It has to be real. He grinned. That's growth, bro. You're finally sounding like someone who trusts himself again. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am. I still keep the Polaroid. Not because it means something romantic. But because it reminds me that even after everything, after betrayal, heartbreak, manipulation, and collapse, things can bloom again. Not because they're forced to. But because they were meant to. This story doesn't end with revenge. Or justice. Or even redemption. It ends with something quieter. Something simpler. Me. Alive. A little bruised. A little wiser. Still whole. And if you've ever been through something like this, if someone you trusted broke you in ways no one else could, I hope you know this, it's not your fault. You are not weak for loving them. You are not stupid for staying. You are not broken beyond repair. You were just someone who believed. And maybe that belief hurt you, but one day, when the dust finally settles, and the lies stop ringing in your ears, and the weight lifts off your chest, you'll look around and realize, you're still here. And you get to start again. I'm starting again. But I still wonder sometimes, who would I be if none of this had happened? If I had walked in just a little sooner? If I had held her just a little tighter? If I had been enough? I don't know. And maybe I never will. But I'm learning to live with that. Even if some days, I still feel lost. Even if I'm not sure what comes next. Even if the silence still echoes louder than I want to admit. I don't know what to do anymore. But I'm trying.
Follow me for more stories.